Hi guys, welcome back to Cosplay. This time we're making the grenade launcher. Very excited, very inspired from last time. I made the Junkrat tire and I'm like, I need to weather something else. This is it. I'm feeling it, I'm vibing. So I decided to make the grenade launcher. As always, the first thing we do is we gather references. We printed a bunch of references and we also made this pattern based off the in-game model. Right off the bat, I knew that I wanted to make the gun out of EVA foam. I decided the best way to go about that is to have a PVC insert in order to make it rigid. It was gonna be floppy if I didn't put that in, so I started out by taking a PVC pipe and kind of like figuring out where it was gonna go in the gun. I cut it to size. And then I pro-epoxied it together in order to get the inside structure for the gun. Looking at the pattern that we had printed, I saw that the gun handle was pretty thick, so I decided to make it out of 4 foam floor mats in order to get the right thickness for the handle of the gun. So what I started off by doing is I glued 2 sheets of EVA foam. And from there on, I pretty much traced the PVC insert and cut that out. That was gonna be my center of the gun. After that, I sandwiched it with 2 other sheets in order to close it off and have my structure be embedded into the handle of the gun.
Do a kickflip. Oh!
At this point, everything was a slab of foam. So in order to get it the proper shape, I took my pattern and traced it in order for me to cut it out. After I had traced it, I knew I had to cut it, but it was pretty thick. So what I did was I took an X-Acto blade, I scored along the lines of where I placed my pattern, and then took a box cutter to cut all the excess foam that I needed to cut. At this point, I had the general shape of my gun, and I started to cut some areas where it didn't need too much foam and beveling others with my rotary tool. Now it was time to start detailing the gun. I pretty much looked at the reference and kind of cut out what needed to be a little more dimensional. At the end of the gun, there is this like handle rest, and I made that using 1/4 inch foam. I heat shaped it in order to wrap around the end of the gun and barged it in place. There's this detail that I really like on Junkrat's gun, that's this little shift knob, and the way we went about making that is we found this little wooden ball at a craft store, and then we used the shell of a pen and we pro-epoxied that together. So there's this detail on the side of Junkrat's grenade launcher that I really like. It's this mechanism that holds a little tire. Since it's a part that kind of protrudes out of the gun, it kind of made me worried, because if I was just gonna make it out of foam alone, I knew that it wasn't gonna survive, like it was probably gonna get knocked off or something. So I cut a slit into the foam in order to secure it with a little wooden dowel in order to make sure it was sturdy. I used popsicle sticks on some of the shorter pieces. that's how I reinforced them, and so far it's held up. It's not bad. I used screws in certain places where I knew there was wood, so it would be a little stronger and it would hold a little better, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I kept gluing little pieces of foam here and there to kind of finalize the details. And after that, I started to use Cosplay clay to kind of smooth out certain areas and refine a few things here and there. I was mainly just focusing on the back of the gun, and once that was done, I was ready to move on to the front of the gun. Looking at the pattern, the thing that made more sense was the barrel of the gun had to be around 4 inches in diameter, so we had a PVC cut to that size, and that's what we were gonna make the barrel of the gun out of. The barrel of the gun has this like raised area at the very front, and in order for me to go about making that, I took the pattern, kind of traced around the PVC, and use 1/4 inch foam to get that raised area at the barrel of the gun. After I had finished the barrel, I made the very front, which is this cap that opens up, and I made that out of 2 sheets of EVA foam. I dremelled them to get the basic general shape of it, refined it a little bit, and I used like a thin sheet of foam in the back to kind of make it fit better. I started working on the grenade box. So I took the pattern, pretty much traced it out, and started cutting the front and back panels. After that, I saw that there were some raised details, so I also cut out the details in thinner foam. Anything that was raised, I kind of like layered in order to get the right thickness. Glued that on. And then kind of refined things here and there with the Dremel. In order to complete the box, I took a measurement of the depth of the box and made that out of a strip of foam. The strip I measured where the corners would be, cut a slit into them so it would fold a little nicer. So it was one strip going around and pretty much holding together the grenade box. There's a latch on the side of the grenade box, and I just took some wire and a little bit of foam in order to make it. It's also indented, so I cut out that section. And glued it back on. There's a bracket on the side of the grenade box that kind of helps hold the little grenades together. In order to make that, I didn't have any like foam dowels, so I kind of made my own. I sandwiched a piece of wire between 2 sheets of 1/4 inch foam and dremelled it to kind of make like a dowel. the wire was already in the middle, I was able to shape it into the shape that it was based off the reference. After all the individual pieces were kind of done, I had to put it all together. I cut an indent into the grenade box so the trigger would fit into it and they could kind of align. There's this little bridge between the grenade box, the front, and the back of the gun. It's pretty much the thing that holds everything together. And I knew I had to put something a little sturdy in there, so I put a wooden dowel. I cut a hole and placed the wooden dowel to connect to the back of the gun. In order to connect it to the front, we put it together with a screw and a little vibra. So when it came time to attaching the grenade box to the barrel of the gun, I took a strip of foam and glued it to the inside of the barrel along with the inside of the grenade box to kind of hold it together. I took a strip of foam, I covered it in vibra and put it on the box where it meets the front of the box and the bottom of the barrel. In the barrel of the gun at the end, there's this lid that kind of flaps open and closes, and I was kind of excited to make that because I'm like, I want a hinge there. I want it to be able to open and close. I took the hinge and I saw that it was a little too thick on the sides, so I cut the ends with the rotary tool. And once that was done, I cut a slit into the lid, glued it onto the lid, and then barged it onto the very front of the barrel. I like the way the hinge allows the lid to move. That was one of those things that I needed in the gun. I didn't want it to be shut completely. Once that was all put together, it was pretty much built. It was a matter of just building the extra little pieces and refining other things. So I started by refining the bridge that connects everything together, kind of like smoothing it out with the rotary tool and beveling it. After that, it was about making the sights and all the details that go on top of the gun. Most of those details were made in foam and cut, glued, and sanded. In the game, there's this little tire that comes off the side of the gun, and I was excited. It's a little tire, you know, you get to make a little baby tire. And a while ago, we found this little tire on this toy, and we happened to save it because I knew eventually I was gonna make this gun. Didn't know when, just knew it was gonna happen at some point. But in order for me to get it to match the one on his gun in the reference, I cut little tire treads off EVA foam and glued those onto the tire. Like the lid being able to open and close, I knew another detail that I really wanted in this gun was the little tire to spin. In the game, it kind of moves here and there, it just moves around. But I knew I wanted that. I knew I wanted that in the build. So in order to do that, we took a fidget spinner bearing, put it on the little tire, and basically connected that to the wrench. That's the little arm that connects everything together. And I attached it and it's able to spin, and I love it. It's just a little detail that I really love. So good. Just spins. Just goes. I was finalizing the details on the gun, and there was these little rivet holes that needed to be added here and there, and there were also some bolts. Adam had cast those out of self-skinning foam, and I just glued them onto the gun. I noticed that while looking at the reference, the latch that connects the grenade box and the bottom of the barrel, it didn't look anything like the one that I had made, and it kind of killed me because I'm like, that's the detail that I need to put on there. I remade it, I sandwiched foam with wire. Take out the old one and reattach the one that I had made. It's a lot more accurate. I like it. I like it so much better. I was finishing off the project by putting cosplay clays in areas that needed to be filled a little more and detailed. And once that was dry, I was able to sand it and get it all ready and done and ready for priming. The sealing method we decided to go for this project was Plastidip. We covered the entire gun in Plastidip. We did several coats, letting it dry in between. And once that was done, it was ready to paint the base color. The base color, we decided to go with the silver, mainly because that's the overall tone of the gun. So we spray painted it silver. The original plan was to mask off the yellow parts, spray paint them, and let them dry. It's not sticking. This tape kind of sucks. It was so hot that day. Our masking tape, there was something wrong. It wouldn't stick to the gun. So what I did was I put this very specific color that we picked out for the gun that is also in the Junkrat tire and backpack into my airbrush. And I kind of like selectively airbrush the yellow onto the areas that were yellow. I knew we needed new masking tape or something, so we got masking tape, masked off the grenade box, and painted it this like camo green that we had. Once that had dried, I cleaned up all the silver areas that I oversprayed with the airbrush and made sure I refined the shapes. And then off to my favorite part, weathering. I started with the very back of the gun, and I just did some grays, some browns on the black handle. The yellow areas on this gun were really fun to weather. There were these sepia tones that I airbrushed in there, along with some like dark browns, and it was just fun. I feel like painting is so intuitive for me that it's not so much a planned process. Like, yes, I know the base colors, but after that, like, I don't really have a plan. I could use a very specific type of brown, or I could use like 4 different browns, which I ended up using on this project. I kind of improvise and I kind of feel it, you know? I continued by painting the wood color onto the handle, and then the grenade box, I felt like it looked a little too flat, so I added several shades of green in order to bring out the depth and the detail. little leather straps on the sides of the gun, and it was a little tricky to place. But once it was on there, I thought it looked great. I'm like, oh, this is what makes it Junkrat's gun. It's just the little details here and there. The very front of the gun has the iconic smiley face on the lid, and I at some point thought I was gonna stencil it, and I didn't. When I first started painting it, I regretted it, and I was able to wipe off a lot of it, but at the end of the day, it was hand painted, and I think it looks okay. Junkrat's gun has duct tape on it, and that just made me so excited for some reason. I'm like, oh wow, there's duct tape, and I get to place the duct tape the way it's on the prop, and it's gonna look great. It was a lot trickier than I envisioned in my mind. I like the way I envisioned it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna lay on so nicely, and the way it actually happened was just everything sticking to each other. I love the little duct tape on there. I don't know why. A while ago, I was at Daiso and I saw that they had ball pit balls. And at some point I'm like, these would be perfect for the grenade launcher. And when it came time to finally make them and put them on the gun, seeing the silver ring that went around it, I thought vinyl would be the best choice to that little accent on there. After that, I hand painted the X's. And once that was dry, I was able to weather it. It's a cute little element that I love. It's just individual pieces that are just from random places that I really love. So at this point, I was getting really close to finishing, and I saw that the last few little details I needed were like the shift knob. It has this silver ring and a painted like shift knob thing. And I'm like, I don't want to hand paint that. So I quickly made a stencil in my vinyl cutter and I placed it on top of the shift knob. It was a little hard because it kept moving, but I airbrushed it and I like it. I thought I was gonna paint the top, but I was very happy with the cutout of the shift pattern. I was pretty happy at this point. I was like, I'm ready to seal it. It looks good. Amazing. Clear coated it. And I'm like, yes, it feels like Junkrat's gun. I like it.
I think we're done.
And then disaster. Adam. I just finished sealing the gun today, and Adam is just telling me what we're gonna do for the fucking video, and then I look at that. Do you see that? The very front, it's green. I didn't make it green, and I'm so mad. And why is it green? Why is it green anyway? That green is gross looking. Ugh. Now we're gonna paint it green. The screenshots that we took in-game, they did not look like the reference on the computer because it's so metallic that you don't really see the green. Looking at the reference, I was just like, oh my god, I have to paint it green, oh my god. And then I painted it green. I was not happy the entire time. I had to find a way to get the right color. And once I kind of got the overall tone, I hazed it with silver. I wasn't happy until it was clear coated, until I saw it in the sun, and then I'm like, okay. But it was one of those setbacks that I didn't expect. Like, I could see missing a detail here and there, but missing a color? That's new to me. That never happened to me before. That is when the gun was finally done. I'm very happy with this gun. I'm just the little elements that make it work for me. Just make me happy. And I appreciate you for watching this entire video. I'm really looking forward to our next project, which happens to be Cloud's Buster Sword. Yeah. I'm so excited. That's a big one. That's a big boy right there, you know? Leave me a comment. What did you think about this? You like it or not? The grenade just fell, but it's okay. All right, thank you. Catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bruh.